Hello and welcome back. In today's video, the name of the video is Expansion. We've got expansion to talk about from the NHL, as it seems like expansion talks are picking up around the NHL with potential expansion happening maybe in the next few seasons, with all the updates from the past couple of days coming up right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here at the End-to-End Hockey channel. Now before we get into this video, don't forget to like this video and subscribe down below. Thank you for all of your support. I would never be able to do this without all of you guys, so if you haven't already, don't forget the subscribe button down below. Don't forget to leave a comment. We're on the road to 500 subscribers. Don't forget to stay tuned for my June 27th, June 28th, and July 1st live streams talking about the draft, free agency, and other things. Once again, sorry about any background noise. There's some things happening here today, but in today's video, we've got a couple of interesting updates when it comes to expansion. So we haven't done an expansion video in quite some time. Just want to give you guys some more of the updates. So back over in January, it was announced that Gary Bettman met with an Arizona group led by one of the Arizona politicians to bring Arizona back hockey. So that's very interesting out there. It sounded like some good meetings that happened. So we know that Arizona is probably still a little bit lower on the time scale for expansion than a couple of other cities, just given the fact that they still have no arena. Once again, the arena was the biggest problem as to why the first Coyotes didn't work out in the Arizona area. So if there's an ownership group out there who can build a new arena in a pretty good spots and make it work, I could definitely see the NHL go back to Arizona, but I don't think it's going to happen at any point soon. But it definitely sounds like there's at least one group out there who has some interest in bringing the NHL back to Arizona. So that's very interesting out there. When I go over to a really surprising one here, back over, I think it was just a couple of weeks after the trade deadline, there was a couple of reports out there saying that a group in New Orleans met with the NHL to bring an expansion team to the New Orleans area. So that was a very interesting one there. Like, I was not expecting anybody in New Orleans to have interest in the NHL hockey team. It's another southern state, so I don't know. I mean, New Orleans, I think they only have a football and a basketball team. I mean, they have the Pelicans, they have the Saints, so maybe there's an opportunity out there for a hockey team that is more of an eastern city in the US, so it might make more sense expanding there than if they're doing Houston, Arizona, and expand to like KC or Portland. But still, like, I think New Orleans is a little bit of a out there proposal, so I'm definitely not going to say New Orleans is going to happen by any means, but it definitely seems like New Orleans had a group in there interested in bringing in an expansion group to the New Orleans area. So very interesting out there. I'm not sure how much stock to put in those types of updates. I don't think there's going to be an expansion team in New Orleans, but it's very interesting to see there's an ownership group there that has some interest in bringing in a new team. Then going over to Houston, there's been a lot of talk about Houston because they have an NHL arena. They can use the Toyota Center right now. It was just recently equipped for hockey. They had a billionaire owner in Tillman Fertitta, who was the owner of the Houston Rockets. So you had the owner who could have paid the expansion fee. You had the arena with the Toyota Center. So that was why Houston was high on the list. They were also the fourth largest US market, the largest one that's not in the NHL right now. So there was a lot of things going for Houston, but it doesn't sound like Tillman Fertitta really wants to pay the expansion fee. So that sort of cooled the waters on Houston. But I think it was back around the trade deadline, there was some talk that there was actually a different billionaire in Houston, and Dan Freidkin, who is actually also open to trying to bring a team to Houston. So it seems that there's another ownership group in the Houston area that wants to bring a team to Houston. Now, there's still no guarantee that he can use the Toyota Center, so they may have to build an arena, which would make it a little bit longer. But we know that Dallas supports the Stars. Like, Texas can be a hockey state, and having a natural rivalry for the Dallas Stars would be smart. They have a building that they can play in, a billionaire ownership group. I think there would be a ton of fans who would support a Houston team. So it'll be very interesting out there. I definitely think Houston's going to come at some point. I just think it might be a little bit on the longer term side, so we're going to have to wait and see on that. And lastly, going over to Atlanta, when it comes to the Atlanta group, the Vernon Krause group has officially signed off on their arena project. So everything's been approved. They can now start their arena. We've talked about this before. What will be known as the Gathering. It's going to be an arena that's built that can house hockey. So it's been approved. It's now going to go forward. It's probably going to be another 2 to 3 years before they have an NHL ready arena. But still, it seems like there's now a plan in motion for Atlanta to go after an NHL expansion team. So when it comes to that, that's very, very interesting. According to a couple of recent reports, Vernon Krause, who's the leader of that ownership group, is planning on meeting with Gary Bettman in the next couple of weeks to sort of lay out his plan for expansion. Remember, when the Stanley Cup Finals started and Gary Bettman and Bill Daly were doing their press tour, Gary Bettman and Bill Daly both said they're not opening up the expansion process again. They said that if any ownership group has a plan, they have to present the plan to Bettman and Daly, and then they will present it to the Board of Governors. So there's not going to be expansion process opening, but there is still possibility of expansion. And apparently it sounds like Krause is going to meet with the NHL in the very near future to try and work together to try and get an expansion started. Once again, like I said, the arena is not 2 to 3 years away, so my guess is you're not going to see Atlanta until 2027 or 2028, but I could definitely see Atlanta to now have a new team. It seems like they have a new arena and a good location, an ownership group that wants NHL hockey. As much as the fans didn't do overly great last time, it wasn't the worst in the NHL. It was definitely the ownership group in the arena that made Atlanta, the Thrashers, not overly great. And on top of that, the expansion process now benefits the expansion teams, unlike the first one where Atlanta was really hampered due to the expansion process. So very interesting note there. It sounds like expansion is going to happen soon. If the Atlanta team does come back, I'm personally hoping that some sort of a bird. We know that Atlanta has their football team, which is the Falcons, their basketball team, which is the Hawks. Their old Atlanta team was the Thrashers, so they seem to have some sort of a bird thing going for their Atlanta sports groups. So I'm thinking something like Ravens or something like Owls or Roosters, like something like that. Maybe incorporate some Flames to sort of try and tie together the former two teams that Atlanta had in their expansion group. So it's very interesting out there, but definitely seems like after that arena deal was signed off on and approved, that now Atlanta is ready to go forward with their expansion process, and there's a very likely chance we could see an expansion in Atlanta in the very near future, with maybe expansion in Houston and Arizona very closely afterwards. And personally, my guess is that we see expansion some point between 2027 and 2028 season, and it's announced at some point this off season. So definitely going to have to wait and see on that. It sounds like the NHL doesn't want to do anything until after the CBA is finalized, and it sounds like the CBA is gearing up to being finalized towards the end of June. So if that does happen, then I would say sometime in July or August, expect an announcement when it comes to expansion in the Atlanta area. So we're going to wait and see on that, but I definitely think expansion is coming and it'll happen in the next 2 to 3 years. But those are the updates. I love to hear your guys' thoughts. Do you think an Arizona-led group can bring the NHL back to Arizona? Do you think that there's an opportunity out there for New Orleans to get an NHL team? Do you think Dan Freidkin can bring NHL to Houston? And do you think that the Vernon Krause group is going to make an expansion pitch in the very near future and potentially have expansion announced in the very near future? Those are the updates when it comes to the expansion. And personally, just my opinion, I think Evander Kane, who very likely in the next year or two will be the last player to ever play for the Atlanta Thrashers, will be on the new Atlanta's opening night roster, whether it be via expansion or via trade in 2027 or 2028. Like, I think Evander Kane will either be selected or will be traded there, and he'll sort of tie the two franchises together as probably being the last Atlanta player in a couple of years' time to still be around. So very interesting note there, but those are the expansion updates from our past couple of days. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all the expansion updates, and if you think Arizona, New Orleans, Houston, and Atlanta can all get expansion teams, definitely share your thoughts on all of that down in the comment section below. That's all I'm going to talk for today. Remember to like this video and for to subscribe below. Thank you for all of your support. I would never be able to do this without all of you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below. Don't forget to leave a comment. We're on the road for 500 subscribers. Don't forget to stay tuned for June 27th, June 28th, and July 1st live streams. I also do a blog talking about news, rumors, analysis. If that's going to check that out, I'll leave into that down in the description below. And I can't wait to see you guys all for next video. See you guys soon.